Hello to everyone. Today we are going to present our paper titled The Importance of Poverty in Sustainability Policies, an approach to understanding online opinion. My name is Miguel Pino. I'm a master candidate at Concordia University. And today I will also present with my colleague Arezo Bodaghi. She's a PhD candidate at Concordia University. And we will also hear from my colleague Pierre Watine, member of the System Risk Lab at Concordia University. I'd like to take a few minutes, a special mention to Dr. Ketra Schmitt, Associate Professor at Gina Cody School of Engineering and Computer Science at Concordia University, who was also part of this paper. Poverty is one of the problems that affect our present and future as society. Addressing this problem is important to governments around the world. Although the proportion of the world population living below poverty line has been drastically reducing, going from 25% in 2002 to less than 13% in 2012, we still see that the eradication of poverty remains as a complex challenge. Regarding this, Canada also have this problem. More than 8% of the population were classified as low income in 2018. In the UN Sustainable Development Goal, the SDGs, the goal number one is related to end poverty. We could see here the commitment that many nations have to solve this issue. We recognize that something important to consider is that an appropriate allocation of resources, in this case, resources of different local governments or governments in general, and having effective strategies can help people exit poverty. But we also find that policy decisions required to allocate resources are highly dependent on local attitudes, opinions, and biases regarding poor people. They're reflecting in online and in-person conversation. In this slide, we will talk more about the online opinion. Some of the problems related to the analysis of online conversation are due to the fact that online population on different platforms does not always directly represent the population of the country. But we also recognize that the widespread access to the internet makes data collection through online platforms a way to take considerable amount of result that could reflect different attitudes and opinions in online platforms. We know that almost 50% of the world population have access to the internet. In Canada, more than 90% of the population have access to the internet. In the Canadian context, the use of Twitter is considerable, with almost half of the Canadians' online population in the platform. In the next slides, Ariso will talk about approaches to analyze online opinion. Thank you.
While many qualitative approaches have been used to analyze online commentary, sentiment analysis is one of the most popular methods for analyzing online content and extracting public opinion about a specific topic. Sentiment analysis is part of text mining and utilizes NLP techniques as well as techniques from information extraction, artificial intelligence, and information retrieval. These techniques can efficiently capture opinion from formal written text, while they show lower accuracy in dealing with informal language. Next one. A review of literature shows that sentiment analysis has a variety of applications such as healthcare, finance, consumer markets, and government. Take healthcare as an example. Analyzing health-related tweets can be applied in disease surveillance and prevention of HPV and COVID-19. We found several studies in which they developed automated algorithms to process tweets and detect positive and negative tweets to understand how topic-specific messages are propagated. Therefore, they could provide strategies for debunking misinformation. Delving further into literature show that negative tweets were more likely to be retweeted compared to positive tweets. We also found that Twitter is the most studied micrograph for sentiment analysis, and SVM, support vector machine, as a machine learning technique, is the most popular tool for analyzing tweets. Next. In terms of poverty, several studies evaluated energy poverty press releases to evaluate the impact of stakeholder engagement on energy policies. They showed that press participation reflects social dynamics but can improve both policy and perception by engaging the public. Although these studies didn't include social media, this can provide a strong analog for the value of public engagement in the policy process. It worth to be said that online engagement is not entirely representative of society, but it can reflect national consciousness. So, in order to find public opinion about poverty, we decided to analyze Twitter to get what they're going on about the poverty and what's the opinion of people in Canada. Next one. In order to collect data, we use Nexa Intelligence software. Nexa Intelligence software is a software tool for exploitation of social media. Through Nexology, you can use different keywords to collect post and comment related to these keywords, and it enables you to identify the network of collaboration between users as well as the top words and top hashtags. So for collecting data, first of all, we use several keywords such as poverty, Canada, in order to collect tweets from Twitter. After collecting initial data, we got that CND Poly, Canada and poverty, and CDN are top hashtags that people use in order to share their ideas about the poverty. So for the second part of collecting data, we use these hashtags, and through the Nexology, you can collect data from different geographical locations. So we pick main city of Canada and use these hashtags, the main hashtag, to collect tweets. After collecting, we got more than 31,000 tweets, but it was including tweets and retweets. And we removed retweets because they are repetitive and we don't need them. So after removing retweets, we finally had more than 9,000 tweets. But we also used hashtags and words in order to collect tweets from all over the world about the poverty in Canada. So we use the same hashtag, but not just for few cities. We collect tweets from all over the world, and we could collect around more than 58,000. And again, after removing retweets, we finally had more than 11,000 posts that in the rest of the slide, in the rest of the presentation, my colleague will tell you how we process these collected tweets.
So with that amount of data, it would be impossible to manually do the sentiment analysis by ourselves. So that's why I asked one of my coworkers to analyze as most of them in a manual way, and that turned out to be approximately 7% of our database. So we first manually evaluate it, which means that we first read the sentence and say whether it has more of a positive tone or more of a negative tone. Then among this the 7% that were emitted, we subdivide that sample by with 30% as our training sample and 70% of our testing sample. So now we're taking the training sample and we're feeding it to the AI, and what it will do is it will actually try to make sense out of it. Why is those are those sentences positive? Is it because of the middle word, the middle class, the is it because of class? Is it because of helping, and so on? And then we with the remaining 70% that is our testing sample, we try to interrogate the AI to see if the AI would actually conclude good results out of it. As you could see at first, the AI just got one in our example just got one of them right, which is less than 60% accuracy. And now the AI is a little bit like a student. If it doesn't get the 60% accuracy grade, he would have to redo the training step another time, like a student would take the class again. But this time we would reshuffle the testing sample and the training sample as we shuffle as we wouldn't get the same the same sentences to for the testing. So yet again, we feed it some sentences. It will try to make logic out of it. Then it will analyze these the testing set, the new testing set, and will try to make some analysis out of this and try to have its own conclusions. And in this example, we get two out of three sentences that are right, which means that it's more than 60% accurate, which means that the AI would be ready to evaluate the remaining of the database that wasn't manually evaluated. And this is what exactly what we did. We fed him the other sentences, and we get all of our results that way. However, there are some limitations to this kind of methods because, for one, the AI cannot detect sarcasm, and that may cause a little bit of bias on this. And also because poverty in general is more of like a negative term, we don't have some sort of balanced training sets, which means that you would the training set would be more overly negative than positive, and results from it may not be as accurate when it comes to having uh, to having true positives.
Thank you, Pierre. We can see that in figure 2 compares the heat map of posts. As we see, and already Arezo talked about this, we have two methods. That is the words and hashtag method that is in the left-hand side, and the geolocalizing data that is in the right-hand side. Location relating words and hashtag like the words Canada, the hashtag AB Poly regarding the Alberta politics, or the hashtag BC Poly regarding British Columbia politics, amongst other terms, yield data from across the Americas, as well as some results in other parts of the world. In contrast, geolocated tweets about poverty in Canada were generated within the country. This is because the search was related to geolocalization of the results and its proximity to some of the important cities in Canada, as Arezo already mentioned. In this next slide, we see two examples of the negative and positive posts from our dataset. In the table, we could see that a tweet predicted as positive by AI This tweet, which centers on Canadian energy, argued that energy availability solves poverty. We can see that this positive sentence mentions solve poverty, which have a positive connotation. The table also shows a tweet that was rated as negative by the AI. The sentence indicates that approximately 1.3 children in Canada are living in poverty. As Pierre already mentioned, poverty has a negative connotations. Sentences like solve poverty or win the war against poverty are positive sentences and indicates that poverty is detected as a negative word. Uh, we also see that even though this post is probably trying to have an informative actions to raise awareness and probably having a positive intention or sentiment, the AI is taking this as a negative tweet. In this next slide, we can see that in table 3, that in total, we evaluate more than 10,000 results. That is a considerable amount of results that carry opinion from different tweets. We can also see that 44% of the results were classified as positive, while 56% of the results were classified as negative. In this final slide, we'll talk about our conclusion and positive and possible future work. The result is close in percentage, 56 to 44%, and this doesn't get us closer to understanding sentiment regarding poverty in Canada. We can see that for this method to be useful in understanding public opinion, the method must be paired with a more traditional approach to understand opinion. Some possibilities include sentiment structured interviews or sweet tweets, related to a specific anti-poverty policy idea, such as universal basic income. In this case, the AI could be trained on the specific information to analyze actual sentiment related to the anti-poverty policy. Um, the AI could be trained with a more specific term that are used in this type of conversation. In future work, we will estimate a confidence interval that takes into consideration the margin of error associated with the AI and analyze this interval as the result. Thank you for your time and have a nice day.